Hello. Today we will look at a poem by the great Du Fu. Whenever we talk about Du Fu, we would usually associate him with his worries about his country, pains that he himself endured, and anxieties over the lives of ordinary people who, like him, were living in a difficult and uncertain time. Most of his poems are reflections of this theme, and he is now largely remembered for accurately and comprehensively describing sentiments people were having during that turbulent history. And for this reason, he was nicknamed History of Poetry, 诗史, and also because what he wrote is sharp and emotional, causing so much resonance with people in different eras. His greatness was universally acknowledged later, and he was also nicknamed Saint of Poetry, 诗圣 in China, becoming one of the very few, the greatest poets of all time. However, despite the fact that the majority of his poems are about hardships, pains, and anxieties, the romantic quality of Du Fu's style is often neglected. It's abundantly clear that his major style, as we know of him, mainly comes from his own experience when the Tang Empire was going through the disastrous civil war in the 8 years of the Anshi Rebellion. When he was young, however, Du Fu was in fact as romantic as anyone else, such as Li Bai, and he was ambitious and full of hope, inspired by the then still hugely prosperous Tang Empire. Today we will look at one poem written in that period and appreciate that, as a great poet, Du Fu could really write any theme with incredible mastery. The title is Wang Yue. Wang means to watch, to look at from afar, and Yue means big mountain. In China, historically, there are 5 distinguished mountains which had big fames for their natural beauty and cultural significance. They are located in the east, west, north, south, and middle of China, which are named Dongyue, Xiyue, Beiyue, Nanyue, and Zhongyue, which collectively are called Wuyue, the 5 great mountains. Here is a map showing roughly where they are. Dongyue is Taishan is here, and Mount Tai, and Xiyue is Huashan, and Beiyue is Hengshan, and there is another Hengshan, it's Nanyue, and in the central area is Songshan in the middle. Here, Du Fu was talking about Dongyue, the East Yue, Taishan, Mount Tai, which is located in the Shandong province. This is Shandong province. Let's read the poem together first. 望月，岱宗夫如何？齐鲁青未了。造化钟神秀，阴阳割昏晓。荡胸生层云，决眦入归鸟。会当凌绝顶，一览众山小。So Mount Tai, Taishan, was also called Dai. So this clearly shows that it is the Taishan that Du Fu was talking about. Yue in the title. Zong means the most senior, then ancestors, or what is the most fundamental. In this group of 5 great mountains, the east mountain, Taishan, is regarded as the most important one, leading the rest 4. So Du Fu used this Zong to show the great respect people had for this mountain. In the ancient days, people often held grand ceremonies there, such as inaugurations of emperors, for the idea that in such a way, whatever was to be done would be blessed by the heaven. Even to this day, Mount Tai is still one of the top attractions in China, drawing millions of tourists every year. Climbing to the top of the mountain is one of the most popular activities people would do. Here are a few photos of Taishan. You can see how grand the mountain is. Fu, this character is often pronounced as Fu, meaning man, but here it's pronounced Fu. It's an auxiliary word used here, with no actual meaning, only adding to the rhythmic flow of the poem. 如何 means how about. So the first line is saying, How is Mountain Tai, this highly respected mountain, what is it like? The answer lies in the next line. 齐鲁青未了. Both Qi and Lu are two ancient countries in that area. To one side of the mountain is Qi, and the other side is Lu. Here is a map showing the boundary of these two ancient countries. So this is Qi, and this is Lu. And they border each other. We know that Confucius was actually from the country of Lu, and he spent quite some time in the country of Qi, trying to implement his idea of running a country, trying to persuade the king in the Qi. Now, both these two characters, Qi and Lu, are used to refer to the area of the whole Shandong. Qing is green, here meaning the green color of the mountain, the color of trees growing in the mountain. Wei means not, and liao means ended, finished. So here Du Fu was saying the greenness from the Mount Tai extends to Qi and to Lu, to everywhere around it, and it never ends. He was talking about how big the mountain is, how big area it covers, and how it dominates the surroundings with its green color. Du Fu did not directly say the mountain is tall or big, but really addressed it from an indirect angle, painting a vast picture of lands extending to all directions from the Mount Tai, and we can visualize the lush green everywhere in front of us. This is such a powerful answer to the question raised in the first line. You ask, how is Mount Tai? Well, this is how it is. This is how vast it is, how great it is. The next two lines are further direct admiration of this great mountain, but again portrayed from a very unique angle. 造化, it means Mother Nature. 中 means to gather, to concentrate. 秀 is beauty, and 神 means exceptionally, godlike. So 造化中神秀 means the Mother Nature paid special attention to it. When it created this mountain, it collected all the exceptional beauty and put into it. That's why it looks so beautiful. Yin and the Yang are the very traditional and old Chinese philosophical concept, referring to any pair of contradicting but coexisting qualities, such as the sun and the moon, good and evil, bright and dark, hot and cold, etc. Here, Yang refers to the south side of a mountain, as it is often shone on by the sunlight, and Yin means the north side, as it tends to be colder for lack of sun. Ge means to cut, for example, to cut with a knife. Here it is used as a metaphor. The north and south sides of the mountain cut the world into two parts, Hun and the Xiao. Hun means the dusk, when the sky becomes dark, and Xiao means morning, when the sky gets brighter and brighter. So at one side of the mountain it is a dim dusk, and the other side is a bright morning. What does it imply? It implies the mountain is so tall and big, so that when the sun is traveling to one side, the other side would be totally shielded. Therefore, the mountain is like a huge knife, cutting the space into two contrasting periods of the day, morning and evening. This is such an amazing command of the language, thoroughly effective, but without directly describing them. This writing style followed through to the next two lines, when the poet tried to describe the mountain in more details. Dang means to swing, to undulate. Xiong literally means chest or breast. And in the Chinese language, it sometimes means heart, because a heart is located in the chest. So we often say 心胸. Heart and chest, they refer to the same thing. So 荡胸 means the heart is popping up and down, swaying this way and the other. Why so? Shen is to produce, to form. Ceng is layer, and Yun is cloud. So while the layers of clouds form in a mountain, and we could imagine that these clouds must be floating around, up and down, swirling and shifting, changing its shapes all the time, while this happens, the poet's heart is swaying too, due to the excitement when seeing this natural beauty. What else could the poet see? He tried to open his eyes so wide, with so much effort, that he nearly broke his eye sockets. 绝 means to break, and this 字 means the eye sockets. Of course, this is exaggeration, but what was Du Fu trying to see? 入 means to enter, and 归 means to return, and 鸟 is birds. So he was trying to see the birds who were returning home. And as he watched, such a scene entered his eyes. This 入, right? It means the 归鸟 entering his eyes. There was much to see, wasn't there? The green trees, the green mountain, the different colors of the day, the clouds, and the flying birds. Remember, the title is 望月. It's 望, which means that the poet was really only watching it. And in fact, a lot of what he said in the poem so far were probably his imagination, a romantic way of pouring his idea of what the Mount Tai should look like into his writing. But he knows that this is not enough. He really needs to see everything with his own eyes. So he said, 会当凌绝顶，一览众山小, which is a highlight of the whole poem, immediately raising the poem to another level. 会当 means must, you must, I must. 凌 means to rise above, to go to the top of it. 顶 is 山顶, the top of the mountain. So Du Fu said it is imperative that he must go to the top of the mountain to rise above the very top, the ultimate top. So to 一览众山小. It's clear that the Mount Tai is the biggest and tallest one among its surroundings. So when you get to the top of it, you can 一览众山. 一览 means totally see, to see everything. 众 means all, and Shan is mountain. So Du Fu knew that when he got to the top, which he must do, he would see all the other mountains from there. But what would they look like? They would all appear 小, little, small, insignificant, in comparison to the Mount Tai. So he would feel like standing at the top of the world. Everything else would be belittled in comparison. This is such a heroic and inspiring statement, courageous and highly spirited. This line, without any doubt, showed how proud and motivated Du Fu was at that time. He was willing to and keen to go all the distance and conquer the world with his talent, his ideal, and his ambition. So he was looking forward to rising to the very top and showing to the rest of the world that he was the best of all and could do great deeds for his country. Such a spirit also agreed to the state of his country at that time, when the Tang Empire was at its peak, being the most prosperous country in the world, superior to anybody else. So we can see that Du Fu in his youth was really very different from his later years. Now, this wonderful line of 会当凌绝顶，一览众山小 is still often used when we want to describe the sentiment of keenness to move forward, to progress with inspiration and high hope and spirit. Hope we can all have that moment, even now. That's all for today. Thank you.